Alright, we gotta talk about something right now. Why do we keep outsourcing our happiness? Why do we let external sources, everything going on outside of us, dictate what's going on inside of us? We could just get rid of that thing that's bothering us or get what we desire, then we'll finally be happy. Our happiness depends on all of these external forces. Why? The most empowering shift you can probably make in your entire life is to realize that happiness is not dictated by those external things. Happiness is a state that you create within yourself. We can learn how to reprogram our internal software to access bliss on demand. And what exactly is bliss? Some people think that bliss is just being naive to what really goes on in life, just ignoring all the bad things in our life. In reality, bliss is actually our natural state, but our minds are so chaotic that we can never actually tap into it. Bliss is a state of complete happiness or joy, and we don't realize that we have the power to shift our own state from the inside and create that state of bliss ourselves no matter what's going on outside. But first, we got to take the time to break some of these deeply rooted beliefs that hold us back from accessing that. There are beliefs so deep down in your subconscious that you don't even realize that you're being controlled by them. They are running you. But we can break these barriers, these mental barriers, and then decide what we want to believe and empower ourselves. One realization that completely changed my life as soon as I learned it is that no one can actually cause mental pain to us. No one can actually hurt us. It's all how we identify it and respond to it ourselves. If we don't let other people's opinions get under our skin, then they're not going to have an impact on our psyche. I'm going to try to find this clip after I record this, but a while ago, I was watching a video of Sadhguru talking. I'm sure you've heard of him. He's an Indian mystic, pretty wise dude. And he was talking about like the first time he became enlightened. And he said he would just close his eyes and he automatically entered this state of pure bliss, this state of like nothingness. He had nothing to worry about. He had no fears. His mind was completely quiet. And he said he would just be like blissed out. He would just spend hours just doing nothing with his eyes closed, just being blissed out.
One afternoon, I just went and sat on a small hill, which was in the town where I grew up. Till that moment, I always thought, this is me and that's somebody else. I had no issue with that somebody else, but that is somebody, this is me. For the first time, I did not know which is me and which is not me. What was me was just spread all over the place. I thought this madness lasted for 5–10 minutes, but when I came back to my normal ways of being, 4.5 hours had passed. I'm sitting right there, fully conscious, eyes open. I sat there around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's 7:30 in the evening, sun has set, and I thought it's only 10 minutes, but 4.5 hours had passed. For the first time in my adult life, tears were flowing to a point where my shirt is completely wet, but I'm bursting with another kind of ecstasy which is indescribable. Every cell in my body is just bursting with ecstasy.
And most of us can't just do this on command. Most of us have years of patterns that were built up, disempowering patterns, negative patterns, that no matter what we try to do, we end up sabotaging ourselves and getting all negative and worrying about the future and all this fear and stuff that has been programmed into us by outside sources. But we gotta take control of our own internal state. And I've talked about it in tons of videos before, but bro, freaking meditation. I can't say it enough. It's such a buzzword, but it's so freaking powerful. I'm telling you, you gotta take it seriously. You gotta just try it. You gotta commit to it. Because meditation is going to allow you to hack your happiness on command. The thing is, to actually get the benefits from meditation, you gotta have the courage to put your phone down. That's right. Put your phone down. You gotta have the courage to turn the TV off. You gotta even have the courage to put down the books. You gotta have the courage to break those patterns of stimulation that you find yourself in every day. And you gotta have the discipline to just sit in silence. And I'm gonna tell you right now, meditation is not going to be relaxing at first. It's probably gonna be super difficult and uncomfortable if you've never done it before. That doesn't mean you just quit and give up. What we are trying to do when we meditate is to rewire those evolutionary instincts, that programming where we naturally just seek pleasure and avoid pain. We're going against years of overstimulation, mental chaos, and just complete bombardment of information ever since the internet took off, ever since smartphones became a thing. When you sit down, close your eyes, and just embrace sitting and doing nothing, I want you to start noticing that inner critic. Notice that voice in your head. I want you to notice when you're policing your mind and trying to force thoughts. I want you to notice if you're forcing your mind to be quiet. I want you to notice what triggers you to go down those negative mental rabbit holes. And when we're talking about hacking our happiness, you can't just sit there and repeat affirmations like, I am happy. What that is avoidance behavior. I talked about spiritual bypassing in a previous video. There is no use in repeating affirmations to yourself and trying to force yourself to believe something if every single cell in your body does not believe it. The layers of conditioning that your subconscious has will just reject it. So how do we dig deep enough down to start reaching those beliefs that we don't even know are beliefs in the first place? What we're doing in meditation is we're getting to the point where we can just completely surrender. We stop fighting everything and we just start accepting and we just start embracing. We're not trying to change our thought patterns. We're not trying to change our behaviors. We're not trying to change the way we think. We're just observing it. We have all this built up stuff under the surface of our consciousness. And all we do every day is we just stimulate ourselves so that we can avoid it and not have to think about it. So we don't have to face it. Having the courage to sit in silence allows all that stuff to come up to the surface so that we can face it and then ultimately we can heal it and then let it go. All that stuff is heavy. It's just weighing us down, limiting beliefs, traumas, fears, anxieties. It's all capping our potential. When I'm in meditation and honestly just like constantly throughout the day, I like to remind myself that nothing matters except the present moment. I don't need to worry about the future. I tell myself that life isn't that serious. It's not usually a matter of life or death. My mental chatter is just all talk. It's not true. It's not real. I don't have to believe it. I ground myself and I regain control. And I'm someone who was a chronic overthinker, chronic anxiety, always overanalyzing, scared of the future and creating all these scenarios in my head that actually weren't going to happen. So I had to constantly remind myself that life isn't that serious. Just relax and flow. And maybe you're on the other side of the spectrum. Maybe telling yourself that life isn't serious isn't going to help. Maybe you're depressed. Maybe you're underthinking. And you got to figure out what the root cause of that depression is. Maybe you're not taking enough action. Maybe you're not aligning yourself with your passions or your purpose. Maybe it's anxiety that led to fear. And now you're just depressed because you can't break out of it and take action towards what you want. And when I'm meditating, this is super key, all right? When I'm meditating, I practice relaxing every single muscle in my body. I can pretty much relax any muscle I want to on command, and my girlfriend's super impressed about it, but it took years to get to that point. Your mind follows what your body does. And I'm also breathing deep through my belly. Anytime I worry or stress or become ungrounded throughout the day, I just breathe deep, let my brain get more oxygen, relax every muscle in my body and just slow everything down, recenter myself and remind myself that life isn't that serious. Recenter myself in that state of silence, of nothingness, my true state, the state where I'm most authentic and I'm natural because I'm relaxed. When I do this, I'm literally bending my perception of reality. Yeah, it's that serious. It's that deep. I'm altering how I see life because I'm subconsciously creating all that turbulence in my head, and I gotta break the pattern. I gotta rewire myself. I gotta change those habits towards silence, towards relaxation. I'm constantly reminding myself that I'm expansive, that the possibilities are endless, that I'm only placing limits on myself.
If you are not joyful by your own nature, if you're always going around with the fear of suffering, as long as fear of suffering is there within you, you will never walk your life with full stride. It'll always be half a step. Most human beings have crippled themselves simply because of fear of suffering. What will happen to me is always the question. Whatever happens, this is how I will be. If this assurance comes to you, only now you will want to scale the peaks of life and see, what about it? If it happens, makes no difference to you. If it doesn't happen, makes no difference to you. That's when you would like to really explore every dimension of life. So first and foremost thing is this, your way of being is not determined by what's around you. If you bring this one aspect to you, there is no fear of suffering. Once there is no fear of suffering, you will traverse the breadth and length of this life without hesitation. Nature has imposed substantial amount of restrictions on life. You can't just zoom up into the space. There is enough restrictions. You don't have to invent your own restrictions on top of it. So if you invent your own restrictions, slowly over a period of time, you become a constipated life. Being in a state of abandon means all the stops that you have put on yourself, you pulled it off. Nature stops are still there for your safety and your well-being. But why are you imposing stops? There's enough. Gravity is holding you down, that's bad enough. Now you want to hold yourself down. Why? Because fear. What is the fear about? The fear is always about, if I do this, I may suffer.
That in the end, I really don't have to worry or stress about everything because I'm capable and everything will work itself out. I experience that nothingness when I close my eyes and embrace silence. And I find my true state of nothingness. I'm not placing labels on anything, I'm not judging anything. No chaos exists except for that which I create in my head. In a state of nothingness, in a state where our mind is quiet, this is where we can experience true happiness, true bliss. This is when we can feel lighter and that weight can lift off our shoulders. The only way we can truly transform ourselves is if we can embrace the unknown. And that's what we do when we quiet our mind. No longer do we listen to that voice telling us to play it safe, telling us to stay in our comfort zone. If we don't do something different, we don't change. And to do something different, it requires going against our programming. It requires breaking those mental habits. And with meditation, that's what we're doing. We're breaking down those mental barriers so that we can do something different. We're getting out of our own way. And so that was kind of a lot of different things. Hopefully it made sense. Happiness does not depend on anything outside of you. You create that state within yourself and you have full control over it. You just haven't exercised that control. You haven't taken your mind to the gym with meditation. And I feel like once we start realizing that we have the power within ourselves to create our state, to create our emotions, the whole world is literally going to change. Don't forget to give the video a like, comment with any feedback, and subscribe to support the channel. Peace.